didn't Donald Trump preside over this? Doesn't Donald Trump also face some kind of culpability for the BLM and letting it get out of hand? If you're going to say that it was deplorable to let these cities burn out, that it's a national problem sufficient for you to bring it up, 4 years later all the time, isn't it also his responsibility for failing to take federal action against a national problem?
Well, what was going on was, I believe I say in that quote with Destiny, I don't have the transcript in front of me, that I think that the Democrats are allowing this to occur because they see it as politically advantageous. My theory on that is they wanted Trump to be the dictator that they constantly claimed he was. So what would have happened, as you well know, is once he requested to send the National Guard in and all these Democratic places like in Kenosha said, no, we refuse to have it, they wanted him to then have an emergency declaration that would have forced it in beyond them so that they could have said, see, he's a dictator.
Wait, is there a single statement from any lawmaker, anybody, anywhere, any kind of statement that even implies that?
It implies that they were refusing to accept the National Guard.
That implies that they were hoping he would do it so that they could showcase how corrupt he was.
Yep.
Well, of course they didn't say that. I'm saying that that's my theory, that what was going on.
You have evidence for that theory?
Yes, I have evidence for that theory because they allowed this violence to occur over and over again when they clearly had the police force. But no, we didn't. Let me finish. Right. They allowed it when they clearly had a domestic police force. Then when Trump suggested using the normal means that you would use, which was requesting that they allow the National Guard to come in, they turned it down. For example, in New York,
why are you?
No, I don't read minds, though it is funny. This is coming from the group of people that think that Donald Trump engaged in an insurrection, claiming that they know when he was saying, let me finish, knowing when he said be peaceful, that he really meant be violent.
Wait. Why would he refuse the National Guard? Why wouldn't the governor just say, fine, bring them in, and then say, look at what Trump is doing?
That's a great question. Why didn't they? Because if they accepted the help, then it would be hard to call him a tyrant. But if he sent them in against their wishes, then they could say he's mobilizing the military against domestic people. These are people protesting against racism. And Donald Trump is a racist and an authoritarian who, against the wishes of local government, is sending in the military. That would have been the argument.
Well, you'll never admit this, but this is an all roads lead to Rome fallacy, because if they would have allowed the federal government, or they would have allowed the National Guard to come in, they would have only needed one bad thing to happen. And if one federal officer would have killed one citizen, then the Democrats would say, wow, look, the federal police are so horrible under Donald Trump. And then you would have said, see, that's exactly why they allowed Trump to mobilize the National Guard, because they knew that at least one bad thing would happen. And now they're going to blame Donald Trump for it. Like, no matter what they do, you're going to say there was a massive conspiracy.
That's not true at all. And in that world, it's very difficult to liken one bad person at the National Guard that takes a heinous action when he's been requested in by a Democratic mayor.
Hold on, wait. Just to check, didn't this literally exactly happen? Weren't there cities where there were National Guard people deployed and some people were quote unquote disappearing and people blamed Trump for it? Didn't this actually happen?
Yes, but it didn't stick as much.
You can't say yes, but that means that what you just said was wrong. How can you agree with both those statements?
True. That's not true, right? What happened was there were places that accepted the National Guard, and there were accusations that the Guard behaved improperly. But did it lead to some huge political calculus against Donald Trump, the likes of what it would have been if he would have sent the military?
How do you know that,
though, Rob? Know that?
Obvious. And you can ignore and know.
Oh, my God.
Not only that. I can even prove.
I have a quick question to clarify. It's on the subject.
Let Rob say something, and then just ask your question.
15 seconds. Yeah, sure. We actually have people in the military like Miley and others that were talking about optics being a reason not to send the National Guard in January 6th. The idea that they would have been okay with him overriding the wishes of Democratic governors and mayors if he would have sent them in is laughable. They would have made that criticism. You all personally would have made the criticism that meant he was a tyrant.
But you don't actually have. I want to just ask, but you don't actually have evidence that was their intent, other than the fact that they didn't request National Guard.
No, if you're asking me if I have the power to get illegal FISA warrants to spy on politicians I don't like the Democrats do, no, I don't have that.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so my question, because I could have missed it, but Rob, you were asked if Trump bared responsibility, if he had some sort of culpability, if he should have sent the National Guard in anyway. And I didn't hear a yes or no. He did?
He should have.
He should
sent the National Guard in. Absolutely. He should have
taken what they wanted, even though it was a bait.
Yeah. Yes, that's what he should have did. Sometimes being a good leader means that you have to do what's right, even if you know that it'll be used to politically attack you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of Trump's
world Rob wants, and you know what? That's the point of our show.
You can go, but I'll say real quick. I said it. I lost friends over this because I'm more of like a small government person, and I had friends telling me, "Oh my God, what happened to the Rob that criticized excessive police with us marching in 2004, 2005 against things like the Patriot Act?" I didn't want that. What I wanted was the rioting to stop. I wanted the media to put a focus on how terrible the riots were. I wanted the Democrats to speak up about how terrible they were. I didn't want Kamala Harris to promote a bail fund. I didn't want Democrats to keep saying what needs to keep happening up to and through the election. I wanted local governors and mayors to actually deploy their domestic police force to handle it. But given that all of that wasn't occurring before Rittenhouse occurred, I said, you know what's going to happen? They're setting up the situation where it'll be like roof Koreans, where we're going to have Americans shooting other Americans. And I want that to stop at all causes. And so if that means temporarily deploying the National Guard as limited as possible to stop these riots, that's what should occur.
And that's what should happen on January 6th, right? So in January 6th, he should have not listened to, just like he should have not listened to the
Absolutely agree. I think that it would have been better for Donald Trump to not listen before January 6th when people like Miley told him not to deploy 10,000 National Guard. He should have went against his wishes, which you and all the Democrats would have said was authoritarian and was, quote, a Reichstag moment, which is what Miley said. And I think even the day of January 6th, he should have gone against what his people that he put on the ground, such as the Sergeant of Arms.
Just to be clear, if he would have deployed them, yes, it would have been authoritarian. The reason that he gave was authoritarian. He said that he wanted the National Guard people there to protect his people. Just to be clear.
That's fine.
He didn't say no, because the National Guard isn't supposed to be deployed to the Capitol to protect rioters at the Capitol. It's supposed to be deployed to protect the Capitol. When Donald Trump said that he wanted 10,000 troops there, he said he wanted them to protect his people. So that would have been
the reason that he was saying that was because people like you on the left exhibited over and over again that when Trump and MAGA people got together for political purposes, oftentimes they were attacked by outside agitators. This occurred over and over and over. Yeah. See Portland with the Patriot Prayer people that were constantly attacked. So Trump was worried that his people were going to come peacefully make their voices heard, and a bunch of left-wingers were going to come beat the shit out of them, and that happened over and over again. So he said, I want the National Guard there. The idea that had the Guard been there, they'd have been like, oh, we'll allow the MAGA people
pivot red herring, all pivots, all red herrings. Originally you said that you implied that he wanted the National Guard there to protect the Capitol for some noble purpose. He didn't want them there to protect the Capitol.
Where did I say the words noble purpose?
Because you said that, well, you guys would have said that if he came there, it would have been for authoritarian reasons. I imagine the flip side would be, and that is if he's planning on having a protest there to protest the certification of the vote because he thinks the election is stolen, and he wants the National Guard there to protect his protesters who think the election was stolen, that's not a good deployment of the National Guard. That's exactly the type of situation that they were trying to prevent.
The Guard should have been deployed anyways. It was only because of the downplaying and the false, I would say, intentionality of organizations like the FBI and other intelligence agencies that knew that there was likely to be some conflict there.
The FBI intended January 6th. That is your position, fair?
I believe that they, much like the Whitmer kidnapping case, that they were talking to people that they knew were inspiring people to possibly engage in acts of violence. They had people on the ground. They knew that it was going to occur to some degree. They facilitated that occurring so that they could use an excuse to crack down on people later, just like with the Whitmer situation.
And what's the one single example of evidence for this? One piece of evidence for this?
Well, for example, we can go to the testimony of Capitol Chief Sund, who talks repeatedly about how he requested the National Guard beforehand. He wasn't given proper intelligence.
Nope. You said that the federal police, the federal agencies were instigating that they wanted this to happen. I said, what's one single piece? Because there are hundreds of thousands of protesters that day. One single piece of evidence. Did it come out in any of the Proud Boys or the Oath Breakers testimony? Any of their convictions? Any of their court stuff? Was there any piece of evidence whatsoever for any of these people that supports the idea that the feds were operating here to instigate this event?
Yes. Ready? You ready?
Yeah, just one thing.
In those trials, did the FBI testify that they had regular contact with those groups such as Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, and elsewise, and knew that they were going to attempt to have an overthrow of the government? Yes or no?
No, I don't think they did.
I'm not aware of that.
Okay, so then what did they testify as such?
For what?
They testified. Wait. In which trials are you talking about? Proud Boys?
So I believe Oath Keepers specifically, right? Though it might have been with Tario and them and the Proud Boys. There is testimony to the fact that they had people that were aware, and there's statements that they've given, that they heard their insiders that were given, that they planned on possibly bringing guns, and they planned on possibly overthrowing the government.
What you just said. So the fact that they would possibly have rumors or they have information they would possibly bring guns, that's possible. The FBI, by the way, passed along a threat assessment to a general email. I forget which one it is. They were passing along threat assessments. And so I don't understand
now, what they did was, we know know that Miley was doing his own intelligence and had intelligence that later came out that said that he thought that it was going to get
sorry.
The FBI had many threat assessments and many specific assessments. They only set a general one, and that was sent to basically
the DOD doesn't operate.
No,
let me the DOD relies on internal on the FBI and other internal police forces to get their information. General Milley, I think is who you're referring to. He doesn't have he doesn't have his own intelligence agency. He has to rely on things like the FBI.
He was doing, if I'm not mistaken, there were sort of intelligence that he was doing that he was aware of that he was sharing with Democratic senators before January 6th, talking about things that he was hearing from this intelligence gathering that suggested there could be violence that day.
Hold on, wait, stop. I just want to be very clear where we're at right now. I asked for evidence that the feds were instigating this, and this has changed to somebody on a Senate committee heard suggestions that there might be some kind of violence on that day. So let me go back to the original question. Is there any evidence whatsoever that feds instigated any of this? Any evidence of that whatsoever?
Now, I know you're used to this, Destiny, someone who's better than you, like Pisco, because he is better.
Okay. He's not going to answer. So the answer to this is no.
Interrupting and jumping in. What I'm saying is,
I have to go.
Listen, I'll answer in 30 seconds. If they were aware that this stuff was likely to happen and testify to it later, and they did not share that information through the proper sources, only did the bare minimum to the point where the person tasked with defense, Capitol Chief Son, said he was shocked at how he got less preparation and less intelligence sharing for this than even normal protests that would occur at the Capitol, then yes, it would show the only explanation is they're incredibly derelict because they knew there was about to be a coup to overthrow the government, but didn't share the information sufficiently with the people tasked with
gotcha.
Or they
sure. And then what is your strongest piece of evidence that they had a really good idea that this was going to happen?
You could go to the trials of the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, and the communications
I've seen all the indictments and everything. I've seen like articles about the convictions, but what so are you saying that in these trials, what do they testify to?
They had quotes specifically that they said that they had, but they specifically said that they had human intelligence assets where people, I forget the specific term they used, but basically people that were cooperating with the FBI that was routinely contacting the FBI that was giving them these quotes that were then used as quotes in the trials of these people to suggest that there was pre-planning of basically a coup or pre-planning of an attack on the Capitol. So if they had these quotes,
no. So to be clear, I don't think any of this is true. I think you're literally inventing all of this.
Well, I disagree.
Destiny, we'll have to leave it there. I really appreciate everyone. Listen, I know there were some bumps along the road. We're trying to keep it a little bit more calibrated next time. I appreciate Rob, by the way. Speaking, I like it when Destiny and Rob get into it. But yeah, appreciate everyone.
For years, right, Pisco? That's why you defended me on the rage quit thing. Because I said we've been friends for years secretly, yes, right?
We went to high school together, and we actually were in-laws. In fact, according to Destiny. No, I'm just kidding. Listen. Thank you so much, Destiny. I appreciate you hosting this. And again, we'll try to do more space in the future. We hope you like the content. If you want to see any changes, have any suggestions, please send me DMs. If you're a MAGA content creator or a conservative, send me DMs if you want to be included, because I have a lot of people, and I was trying to pick conservatives that I know because they're my reply guys. But if I don't have an indication of maybe what your political leanings are, we're trying to get people who think a little differently. Send me that. And please, do give me suggestions on how better to run it in the future, because I want to improve. But again, thanks to everyone who participated, and hope to do it in the future.
I appreciate that, Destiny.
All right, bye.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.